I don't know if this stuff's been announced on the news yet. I don't know. I don't want to break an NDA here. Yeah, I was in Pyeongchang when we were showing StarCraft 2 to the IOC. A little bit under 300.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Frost may never have 5:30 in Milwaukee, and conditional order.
The sky I'm seeing mostly blue. The sun is out.
World of Korean sports with several international.
Who said you couldn't just play video games for the rest of your life? And you know, the gaming industry is now in the multi-billion-dollar era. And today, joining me to talk about this, as well as his involvement in this, is Nick Plott, better known as Tasteless, one of the most influential figures in the video gaming esports industry. We're going to pick his brain about what's coming on in the future, as well as what's going on in his life. Nick, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for giving us your time. I know certainly how busy you are playing video games as well as casting esports as well.
No, I'm happy to be here, man. Yeah, I've been staying quite busy. I just got back from Saudi Arabia, doing work at the Esports World Cup, and then now I'm back here in Seoul. I've been building out a studio, running tournaments out of there. So yeah, life's good. I'm going to be streaming a whole bunch this next month, doing a horror game marathon as well. But I'm happy to sit down here and talk to you.
Nice. Let's talk about the industry as a whole for a little bit. And, you know, like I said, we're in the multi-billions of dollars, and it's only growing. I mean, people love playing games. And my question is it mainstream yet in terms of esports? Because it seemed to be, you know, this wave that came along, it's kind of hit something, and it's still growing. They're trying to get it into the Olympics. It's already in the Asian Games. I mean, tell us about the growth and the rise of esports. Where is it heading, and where is it right now?
So esports is continuing to grow by pretty big percentages every year. I think part of that is that, so like I'm 41, but when I was growing up, not everybody played games. A lot of people played games, but not everybody. But with each new generation, you end up with all these young kids that, whether it's on a PC or a console or on a phone, are exposed to gaming more and more, especially with the rise of high-speed internet. And particularly Wi-Fi. So a lot of places like, the Philippines or Indonesia that are mainly islands, it's hard to get like broadband there. You can still play games on your phone. So with phone gaming, it's blown up even more. And so I don't know if we would say it's mainstream necessarily, although we're in a kind of a changing culture with how we consume things with tech. Like as an example, some people would say mainstream would mean it's on cable TV, where now most of this is on YouTube or Twitch, or TikTok or stuff like that. So it's continuing to grow. There's definitely been some hurdles in the industry and some hiccups and some bad business decisions that have impacted it in the past. But we already have the Esports World Cup. I do think the Olympics are just around the corner. I know people personally who are pushing to get esports involved in that in one way or the other. And so, yeah, it's definitely a growing industry. And I think we don't know how big it'll be, let's say in 10 to 20 years. But, the more young people that pick this up, the bigger it's going to get. And a lot of people, that play games when they're young, they don't stop. And so I don't see any reason why this would be a trend or something that would go away.
A lot of ways I relate esports to golf, meaning that I don't know anyone that likes to watch golf that doesn't play golf. Like it's the people that, you play golf and then you see it on TV. It's like, oh, there's that thing that's really hard for me to do, but these guys are really good at it. I'm going to watch them. I feel like esports, unless you actually play the game, you're not going to be as interested in watching it, whether it be online or on mainstream TV. So how important is it for gaming companies or game developers to market the game, to get people to play the game and then perhaps transition them into an audience to actually consume the viewership of the game?
So, good question, actually. I think you have to have at least played the game. I don't know if you have to be playing all the time to watch a game as an esport, but I think you have to. It's kind of like chess. If you don't know what the pieces on the board do, you don't realize that a knight might fork a king and a queen, right? So you have to at least have some exposure to the game. Like in my game, as an example, Starcraft, you need to know what the buildings do and what each of the little units do. and have a general understanding of kind of the way the game works. Like in this game, you build an economy and you make an army and you try to ultimately crush your opponent. Um, so you need to have that. Interestingly, like in a game like StarCraft, um, most of the people that watch don't play or don't play anymore. It's a
Mm.
very difficult game, and so there's hardcore people like me. I'll still play, and that's painful. It's a very hard game. I would consider myself not that good, especially compared to the people I cast. Um, but yeah, a decent number of people are just watching because they really enjoy the game and they have an appreciation for it. For some people, it's less like watching a sport, more like watching a drama. Maybe they have a particular player they like. So when it comes to companies in esports, that's an interesting question because some companies seem to be completely uninterested in their games being esports, where others are very interested in doing that. So you take a company like Riot Games. So they make League of Legends. Uh, Valorant, excuse me, 2XKO, which is a new game that's going to be out in a week from this recording. Um, you've got a MOBA, you've got a shooting game, you've got a fighting game. They're pushing esports with those first two, and they're going to be doing something like that with this one. I think they view it as kind of a long form infomercial for their game. These are what you'd call live service games. So a lot of times they're free, but they have what's called microtransactions inside the game so that you can like let's say I have a character that I want to play. There's like 100, I don't know, 150 something like that characters in League of Legends. Some of them you pay money to unlock. They have 10 that are free every week that rotates, but let's say I find a character and I go, "Oh, I really like this one." Well, I'll spend $10, I'll unlock that. And so the going back to the kind of infomercial example. So when people see that, they'll see new champions they can unlock, or maybe there's like a hat the character can wear, or some kind of cosmetic item. And so I think in a lot of ways, the esports is a marketing tool for that. And then you could take a company like Nintendo. So they made a game called Smash Brothers Melee. This was on the GameCube. No, yeah, it was on the GameCube. Excuse me. And this game's about as old as StarCraft One. And there's a whole bunch of tournaments for it, and Nintendo wants to have nothing to do with it. They actually don't like. They feel like it can be a brand risk because let's say I don't know, like a player does something that they don't like, then they think that's like a risk. They don't want to have anything to do with it. So that's kind of like an esport that's very Wild West.
Yeah.
There's been times when Nintendo's considered shutting tournaments down or threatening to do that. So esports for some companies they look at it like a marketing tool. Or like let's take Blizzard as an example, and this would be the old Blizzard. They're the people that made StarCraft. They viewed it as a celebration of the people that were the biggest fans for their games, right? The best players. But other companies look at it as a risk marketing wise, and or not in line with their vision of what their game's supposed to be. So like Smash Melee was actually a party game for kids. And it turns out it's accidentally insanely deep and complex, and people are still learning stuff about it. But that's not what Nintendo made it for. And so, they seem to want to have a distance from that. Another thing to put there is that it's very difficult to make esports profitable outside of it as a marketing thing. So that's a challenge for it. And so some companies, they look at it and they go, okay, that's cool that we have people that are really into our game, but we don't want to risk a huge amount of our budget in like making tournaments or producing live events. Again, these are video game companies. Do some of these have the ability to first make a game and then become like a tournament organizer or a production company? Like they're very different skill sets.
Yeah, and sometimes some of those events will cost in the millions of dollars to, set up the stage and, call in the top players and fly them in. There's a lot of money that goes into that stuff. So as you mentioned, certainly can be a risk. What about the actual top esports right now? I mean, there have been games that have kind of come and gone as the top most viewed games in the esports arena. But right now, in the meta moment, what are the top games that bring in audiences, and what are fans enjoying the most?
So we just got the metrics back actually from the Esports World Cup. So I think that's a pretty good kind of evaluation of all this, right? So the biggest games, some of them are actually still quite old. League of Legends is very big. Valorant is huge now, but that's basically like it's like a carbon copy of a game called Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
So some of these games, like as an example, Dota is very similar to League of Legends. If you can play one, you can play the other. Um, a lot of these are actually very old titles, or at least they're older ideas, right? So Valorant's brand new, but it's based off a concept that was basically figured out about 24 years ago, which was Counter-Strike in that game mode. Um, another example would be fighting games are quite big. And that would include like Street Fighter or Tekken, and there's many other games in that franchise that perform well. But interestingly, a lot of the popular esports generally are games that are actually not that new. There's been a bit of a phenomenon going on where it seems like there's been a ton of attempts at live service games. I think because people see the success in something like League of Legends or Counter-Strike. But it turns out it's pretty hard to get someone hooked on that. And people tend to just go back to the same couple of games. StarCraft's one of these games as well. StarCraft gets virtually no support from Blizzard in this state, but people are happy to go back and play it. It's got an audience. It's not really like anything else, and so it scratches that itch. But we are seeing a kind of a fascinating period in time where a lot of the old games, or at least old models, seem to do quite well. And so that's been an issue for a lot of game developers and people trying to make new games. Like, as an example, you'd look at shooting games, and those are probably the most ubiquitous and the most played games in the world. There's not a ton that seem to be surviving as esports. You've got maybe 5 to 8 or something like that. And I think I'm being pretty generous when I say that. So it's hard to kind of push into the space and do something new. Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned that you knew people that were trying to push to get esports into the Olympics as
Correct.
an example. And let's say that happened. And, it's going to be at least, let's say, 6 to 8 years before, it probably gets in because it takes time for that kind of stuff. So
I think it's going to be sooner. I don't know if this stuff's been announced on the news yet. I don't know. I don't want to break an NDA here. There should be, it should be much sooner than that, I think.
Really? Okay, because I know 28 is in Los Angeles. That'd be crazy if it was in for that. But okay, well, we'll just suggest that for the time being. But let's say, okay, if it is in the Olympics, which games, like how many do you think, or actually which games would have the best chances of actually being in the Olympics?
So the person I talked to who was very involved in this basically said there's 3 types of games, and when people from the Olympics look at games, they kind of see it in 3 categories, and that kind of shows the challenges. So category 1 would be something like the FIFA soccer game. I think it's called FC now. I think they're not allowed to call that game FIFA anymore. I think FIFA got involved with that and didn't want that name in their name in the game. I think it's called FC. But I think everybody knows this game.
Yeah.
It's the soccer game, right?
Yeah.
Or football game. For
The soccer game.
Americans.
Sure.
So they look at that and they go, oh, okay. That would not have an issue getting into the Olympics, right? Because that makes sense to somebody who is from, I guess you could say, like, the older traditional sports. Then you have a game in the middle, which is a game like Starcraft, which it's a strategy game, but the aesthetic is basically sci-fi. But it's not really that difficult to explain to somebody once they get the core concepts down. Oh, this is a really deep game. It's kind of like chess, but in real time, and you can't see the whole board, but also, you can produce pawns and rooks and stuff like that instead of just starting with them. And then the third category, which is the most challenging, would be shooting games, because from what this person told me, they just see violence. They see people getting shot in the head.
Yeah.
And the aesthetic with some of these games is terrorists plant a bomb. We got to defuse it and stuff. And so that's been a challenge. And so the people that are involved in pushing for this have basically said they're trying to educate the IOC on, okay, no, these games are, by the way, the shooting games are very big, so you kind of need to have them if you're going to have the pull. How many games would be in the Olympics? I'm not totally sure. But it's hard to say. I mean, one thing to remember with the Olympics is that, unlike the Esports World Cup, people in the Olympics don't compete for big prize pools.
Yeah.
You can be an Olympic gold medalist and be broke. Like, you have to do a whole bunch of commercials, or there has to be some kind of weird success It's actually kind of fucked up when you think about it, but there has to be some whole other avenue of success after you've won a gold medal and proven you're the best in the whole world at something. So that would mean to me that there wouldn't be a kind of financial prize pool cap inhibiting the budget of the Olympics to do that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So in 28, I think it was 2018, I was in Pyeongchang.
Yep.
Or was it Pyeongtaek?
Pyeongchang. Yep. Pyeongchang for the Winter Olympics.
For the Winter Olympics. Okay.
Yep.
No, wait. Pyeongtaek's in North Korea. So what am I talking about? I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I was in Pyeongchang when we were showing StarCraft 2 to the IOC back then.
Yeah.
And they were having groups come through and look at what it was. And this is when Blizzard was more involved. There's a lot of people that were at Blizzard that are gone. Blizzard doesn't invest in esports anymore. But there was a push to have that. Then the Olympics were in Japan, and I think the Capcom pushed Street Fighter pretty heavily with that. I think COVID got in the way of that for all of the Olympics.
It was pushed from 2020 to 2021 because of COVID
that's
at
right.
the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think maybe Street Fighter was only shown in like the pre-show, but there was or sometimes what they'll do is they'll put a tournament like next to the Olympics to try to get the attention or kind of capture that.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, I'm rambling a little bit here, but yeah, I think there could be several games. I don't know if it's going to be an all at once thing or not, but I think from what I understand, the Olympics knows they're kind of losing viewership. It's not as central, and so maybe having other esports, even when they did like skateboarding in the Olympics or
snowboarding, X Games,
yeah, it's like, okay, well that's more my generation, but you got to keep going a generation lower and lower to kind of get people in. So I think there's definitely an incentive there.
You mentioned about athletes compared to esport players in terms of their finances and stuff.
Right.
I remember maybe like 10 years ago, I want to just venture a guess of top esports players making maybe like $500,000 or something like that. Am I safe to say that nowadays, like top esports players are in the millions in terms of their earnings for the year, or what does what do esport top players make?
So I don't know. For definitely they're millionaires. Some are millionaires. The very best are millionaires. What happens now? Originally the idea was, okay, well, you're going to win money in tournaments, but then you get on a team. There's a salary there. There's the phenomena of live streaming has had incredible impact on professional gamers, because if you're the biggest player in the world, you can actually just turn on your PC. Like my PC here, this is a streaming setup, right? So I have like, I guess what you say, like a low to medium size stream. So I'll get hundreds of people that will watch me play StarCraft or maybe another game. But if let's say that you're the best at a pretty new popular game, you're looking at like, maybe 3,000, 4,000 people watching you live. And that means, and those people can send you money, they can donate, they can sub to your channel, they can buy your own merch. And so some of the biggest pro gamers, their streams get so big, they actually just start streaming. They stop playing in tournaments because it's so much easier to just be good on your stream and people will just watch. And you're connecting directly with the fans, and then a lot of times you've cut out the middleman. So a lot of the top play now, as an example, the StarCraft 2 pros are generally pretty bad at this. A lot of them don't stream, even though I think they're leaving money on the table. But the point is, there's a lot of different ways to make money in this.
Yeah,
Faker is maybe the best example right now in Korea. He's in commercials. I think he has equity in the team now. There's certainly you can make hundreds of thousands, if not millions, in prize pool. But it's important to know that there's like a lot of other avenues to be making money in that space.
Yeah. And
so I think people that play their cards correctly, I think, can do very well.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about your career and what you do, because I know that, as you mentioned, you stream as well. And
Yes.
I'll have a link in our description area on people that want to go and visit your stream and to check you out. So check the description below, and you can go straight to Nick's channel to check out what he's doing. But let's talk about what you do. For the most part, you're a StarCraft 2 caster. Are there other games that you do cast as well? And even though like StarCraft and StarCraft 2 has had its ups and downs, why have you still stuck with this game in particular compared to moving on to other games throughout the industry?
Yeah, so I have been StarCraft 1 to start is about 25 or maybe 26 years old, so I've been playing ever since the game came out. I primarily cast about half StarCraft 1, StarCraft 2. Um, StarCraft 1 is massive in Korea. By some metrics, it's still the most watched game on streams in Korea.
Hmm.
So this is the best place to be for StarCraft 1. StarCraft 2 is mostly played outside of Korea. They have about the same number of players. And obviously, it was easy for me to switch from StarCraft 1 to StarCraft 2. They're so similar. Although, honestly, it's pretty hard to master both. You know, they're different enough. They're very challenging. But if you like one, then you can enjoy the other. I probably cast about maybe 20 to 30 other titles in my time.
Wow.
Yeah, and some some I knew better than others. Others I didn't know that well.
Fair
You know,
enough.
sometimes you'll get this is especially in my early days when I moved to Korea. You just get a job offer, and they say, okay, like there's a game called Special Force. It's kind of like a carbon copy of Counter-Strike. They're like, can you cast this? And I think, okay, well, I don't have any work right now. Yeah, I can. I don't know the maps in and out, or I don't necessarily know the game perfectly, but sometimes that's not an issue. Maybe they have a marketing budget and they don't want to fly somebody in, so they'll use me. So I've had moments like that. There was one tournament where I ended up doing StarCraft 1, Tekken 7, and CS:GO, Counter-Strike Go. And for whatever reason, they only wanted one pair of casters.
Oh boy.
And so they went, okay, well, then I guess,
If you know one game, you'll probably know them all.
CS:GO is going to take a little bit of an L here. I don't know the game that well, but we did it. So, yeah, I've done a bunch of different games, some for longer than others. StarCraft is the game that I played. I'm going to put in air quotes here professionally because there wasn't a lot of money when I was, a teenager and in college doing this, but I did play in tournaments for money. And then I kind of stuck with that because, I have an audience. I love RTS games. And
RTS meaning real-time
strategy. Sorry. Yeah. And so I've stuck with that. I'm not opposed to doing new games. I've always loved strategy games, but I've loved games in general. Yeah, I mean, I think because I'm at the top of my field for that, it kind of makes sense. With Blizzard not funding tournaments anymore, it's kind of put me in this position where I can kind of make my own stuff. So like I'm running a studio now out here. We're doing StarCraft 2 broadcasts. And that's been fun. So I'm kind of running my own esports events now.
And you're sort of like doing your own tournaments, right? Like as
correct.
if
Yeah.
So like tell us about not just being a caster, but
Sure.
As you're organizing this, I mean, it's different to be a producer, a director, an executive producer organizing things compared to just, okay, Nick, we want to hire you and just go and cast this game that you've been casting for the last 20 years, as opposed to now you're actually on the administrative side of organizing these things as well. That's got to be new and very challenging.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. So basically when I started, I was just doing broadcasts in Korea, and then live streaming came out, and that was like kind of a weird. People kept saying, "Why don't you stream yourself playing StarCraft?" And I would go, "I'm in a fucking TV studio. Why would I go to my house and turn on a webcam and stream?" Like I didn't get it, right? I grew up on cable, right? I watched MTV and Nickelodeon, and so what I thought I had to do, and I was right at the time, was I have to go to a network that does this and convince them to put me on air, which I did. But then, I saw this thing happen with the streaming, and I thought, oh, okay, I don't know if it's for me. I'm on camera a lot. The pandemic hit, and then I lost all my international events. So basically, I'd make money in Korea doing broadcasts, but then I get to, I'd be flown to Paris or, Shanghai or somewhere where there was another tournament, and that paid. I mean, it still does pay pretty well. So then the pandemic hit, and I thought, okay, well, I actually have to just stream. And then I discovered, okay, this is actually really cool. People are showing up. I'm hanging out. It turns out my audience is pretty funny. I'm pretty cool, and so like they're making me laugh. We're having a good time. I'm basically just monetizing the way. I think my cat's about to jump on here, so watch out if the cat flies on camera here. Okay, here we go. Sorry about this.
Oh,
Uh,
no problem.
I'll try to keep this tail down here. So I'm basically monetizing the time that I already had playing StarCraft, and I'm sharing it with people. And then, as you know, the pandemic was nearing an end, I thought, okay, well, why don't I just put tournaments on my channel,
Hmm.
right? Because now, learning the software for streaming was a little bit intimidating. It wasn't as hard as I thought, but if something goes wrong with it, people are just sitting there staring at your face while you're on a webcam, and you're like trying to fix some broken scene, or you know what I mean?
Hmm.
The sound's not working or something like that. So I thought, okay, well, why don't I just put StarCraft tournaments or other game tournaments or and stuff like that on my Twitch. I can upload that to YouTube. And people were already doing that, and I just thought, okay, well, I actually have friends in production. Why don't I just actually have a space made for that?
Hmm.
And so I did a couple professional productions where we just rented out a location or built a set. And then, now we're at the point where we have a little studio space where I've got a couple of employees. We go and we turn the lights on, turn the camera on, and it's like, okay, now we're broadcasting a tournament. So it's been a really rewarding experience. It's definitely been a challenge. Like
What's been the hardest part so far?
the hardest part,
Like, is it
right?
hard to get actual players to play for you and things like
No,
that?
that's not that. Actually, that's not. Basically there's like a Discord channel we go to make sure our tournament doesn't conflict with another tournament. So you basically have to figure out, okay, like the one we just did. All right, it turns out, and the advantage of being in Asia, by the way, is it's not like there's a ton of other English language tournaments or going on. It's not like we're in a European or a North American time zone. So I think the hardest part right now is we're getting a live event set up. So we're going to do our first offline, like live audience. Players are there, casters are there event. And the logistics of that is just challenging. We've got a space that we're going to be renting out, which is quite, I mean, it's quite expensive when you hear
Oh
like there's
yeah.
no money in esports. You go, oh, well, that's because this costs so much.
Hmm.
So we're going to rent out this space. Right now, I'm figuring out how to sell tickets
Oh
because
wow.
I haven't, which didn't really occur to me until after we booked the venue. We just sent in the deposit for that, and I'm going, okay, so now how do we sell tickets?
Yeah.
And then, okay, can people scalp the tickets? How do we avoid that? So
Hmm.
that's the challenge right now. Okay, so we're gonna have to fly people in, put them in hotels. I have to figure out how to sell tickets. But every challenge eventually we get it sorted, right? So the first challenge was, okay, we have to launch a Patreon. That's scary. How much money can we raise?
Hmm.
Because we're kind of committing to do something. It's all
Yeah.
community funded, so that's okay. So we've got that. All right, now we got to build a set. Okay, now we've built the set. That's exciting, but you're okay. Do we need one camera? Do we need two cameras? You know, what can we find a good location? And you got to check the location. Okay, there isn't leaking water in this building, or you know what I mean? Can this building have a ton of equipment plugged into it?
Yeah.
And then we go, okay, now we've got a set. Now we have to make a tournament. Do we make all the rules right? And by the way, tournament rules is not something I thought a ton about. But then, yeah, you got to make sure it's fair. It has to be
Hmm.
structured in a way where there's enough content in the period of time that people feel like they're getting a good amount of show. It can't be too long because that'll exhaust the broadcasters. And
Hmm.
that also, I do think there's a big issue with a lot of esports events where they're on for too long.
Yeah.
Like I was watching, I used to cast Valorant out here. It's like a 6 to 7 hour broadcast. Like that's like a 30-year day. It's so much. I want to have content that I feel like people can consume the whole thing, but then also go on to do other stuff and not feel like they're missing out. So then, yeah, you make the rules for the tournament. Okay, now we're going to go book a venue. So that's kind of the process that I'm in. Once I've done a live event with an audience, I'll know what was hard and what was not hard about that and what I can improve on. So I
How many
feel like you're
people are you looking to seat in your live audience?
a little bit under 300.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an event.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of people.
Yeah, and that costs a lot of money to put down, to risk,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yes, it
Wow.
does. Yeah, and then like, and here's another example. Like, so I was thinking, okay, it's a live event. Can I have a bar there? Can people buy drinks? Right?
Yeah.
Like if I go, like a couple of years ago, the UFC was in Korea, and me and one of my co-hosts who lived in Korea at the time, we went and we're watching UFC. I'm drinking beer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm having beers. I'm watching the game. do do people want to drink alcohol at the event? Okay, well then how do we do that? Or can we do that?
Yeah.
Is this a place where we can serve alcohol? Does that mean we can't have people that are under the age of 18 in there? There's all these things you got to think of. So this is kind of the stuff I'm kind of mulling over right now. But it's exciting. It's been very rewarding, and it's interesting to kind of take in the entirety of the thing instead of just being one part of it and trying to figure all that out. So it's been good.
When you're a studio caster and you're online and people can see you, as opposed to when you're at the actual live event and like you said, you've been to Dubai and Shanghai and Anaheim and all these other places where people can actually see you and meet you and get to know you after watching you strictly online for months or years prior. So when it actually comes time to meetings to, someone familiar that they've seen before, what's that reaction like for those fans of yours to actually see you for the first time? Have you had some interesting interactions?
Oh, I've had every kind of interaction you can imagine. I've had really good ones. I've had really weird ones. No, it's really cool to meet the people that that watch and enjoy my work. I think when I first started doing broadcasts, because I don't really have a particular interest in like being on camera, if that makes sense. Like I don't feel like I need to be like a celebrity or famous. Yeah, that's not interesting to me. So I just like Starcraft, and I didn't want to get a job that I hated. So I'm like, okay, this looks like it's going to be fun to do. So I think when I initially did it, I was not used to the idea that someone might recognize me in public. You know what I mean? Like
Do you remember the first person to recognize you and what that was like?
No, I don't actually. I don't. Well, because I guess the first time I would be recognized, I'm at a Starcraft event, right? So I'm working there, and then people come up and they say hi, or they're asking me questions. They want a picture. I probably didn't get recognized in person until I had moved to Seoul, and then I would be in like Itaewon or some area where there's a lot of foreigners, and I might be out with friends, and I get recognized. I was a little bit caught off guard. I found it kind of an anxiety fueling thing initially, just because like. Maybe I'm having a private conversation.
Expect it.
Yeah, exactly. Or I'm on a date or something, and I go, well, and the person might not get a social cue that like, okay, 5 minutes is enough time talking. Like, let's move on. So you have those experiences. Most people are nice. Most people are really cool. But yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it now. I mean, if I'm out, every once in a while, I'll get spotted. But most of the time, it's just at an e-sport event that I'm working at.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, do you get spotted more in Korea or when you're at an international event that, you're physically had? You kind of can't avoid the fans there.
Oh, I mean, when I'm at a physical event, I mean, then they usually have like a fan signing or something like that. So that way you can meet all these people at once. And they can get their signatures. And then I also have time to go back and do my thing when I'm working. But I mean, like if I'm in an airport or I'm in I'm doing work in LA, I'll get spotted every once in a while. And if people are watching this, if they see me, you can always come up and say hi. I like meeting people that watch my stuff.
There you go. You mentioned, so with your production company, not only do you cast, but you also bring in other casters to cast with you, or that's your plan either now or for the future. So when you look at other casters, let's say somebody wants to be an esports caster that's watching this right now, what do you look for in someone that wants to be an esports caster or someone that you might hire or choose to work with?
So the most important thing is they need to know the game on some level. Because if they haven't gotten to that, because learning a lot of these games, excuse me, learning a lot of these games is hard.
Yeah,
it's a lot of work, and some
especially
people
the intricacies within, because there's knowing the game to a certain level, and then there's really knowing the game, right?
Exactly. So you have, I need to have someone that knows the game on a pretty deep level. So like if we were talking about chess, it would need to be like a chess master level. Or you're a grandmaster, even better. But you need to be able to play on a certain level where you can parse the game and know what's going on. I don't think you need to be the greatest player of all time. I have found occasionally you'll get people that are very, very good, and they don't know how to communicate to someone who's not a grandmaster. They're so caught up. It's like, two grandmasters. I'm like, we're supposed to be showing this to people that might have a very surface level
Sure.
knowledge of the game. So
Yeah.
there's that. Then I need to have people that can talk, frankly, and that
Mhm.
can have feedback. You don't want someone with maybe too much of an ego, or can't get out of their own way. But I've got a good group of guys out here that I'm working with, and they're all very, very talented at the game. And I think broadcasting is something that you have to do a lot and just kind of improve at.
Yeah.
It's improvisational. You're not acting. You're not reading from a script. Um, and so you have to find people that can kind of uh, on a day show up, get through the broadcast, receive feedback. Sometimes people are saying one word too much, or they're talking over their co-host, or something like that. Um, and generally now when I look for people, and when people ask me this, I also say it's really important that you build up your own channels. So, like when I started doing this, I imagined that. So I was 23 when I moved to Korea. I imagined that it would be like, okay, I'll be with one network or with one tournament, and that's what my job is going to be. And what you really want to do, it's like having a investment portfolio, is you want it diversified. So now I stream uh, when I'm not broadcasting. I play StarCraft or other games. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a scary game marathon through October for Halloween. I stream, then I upload that to the interesting parts, or maybe like news updates, to YouTube. So I have a Twitch, I have a YouTube. Ideally, if I was more on top of my stuff, I'd have a TikTok and figure out ways to get people to consume my stuff on TikTok as well. Um, and then, I figure out, okay, like right now we're doing these tournaments, they're on my channel, but there'll be other work opportunities in Seoul, or there will be other games that come up. And really, if you're going to be in this space, you have to have enough gigs, enough sources of income coming in that you're well diversified. And then if one of those things falls apart, like so Twitch left Korea. A lot of people thought I wouldn't. It turns out you can stream on Twitch still. You just connect to like a Japanese server. But at the time, I thought for like 2 days, oh my God, I can't stream in Korea. I'm
Uh,
going to lose my stream. I thought, okay, well, that's okay because I still have my casting gigs. I still have a
mhm.
YouTube. Turns out I'm fine with that. But the whole point is you want to have a couple pots cooking basically so that
Mhm.
you're doing fine. And then you try to grow that and you try to improve your work. And yeah.
Getting back to other casters, one of the most iconic casters that you've worked with for a very long time was Dan Stemkowski, also known as Artosis. You guys became known as Tastosis because your team worked together. Your chemistry was so good. More recently, or maybe a while ago, or not too long ago, he has since left Korea. You have remained here in Korea, and your partnership on screen is not what it used to be. What's it been like to have to make your own way without him? And what's your relationship like these days?
So we still do cast StarCraft 1 because
Mm,
we produced that on our own. We basically have a deal worked out where the big StarCraft 1 tournament provider gives us a clean feed of the VOD, and then we put it on their YouTube, but we have that monetized through Patreon. So we record that online together. So like
nice.
tomorrow night, I'll actually be on Discord with him. We'll be doing another recording for that. We also did work together at the Esports World Cup. But to your point, yeah, he left Korea. I don't know how many years it's been. Maybe it's been 3 or something like that.
Yeah, feels like
Um,
it.
I mean, look, I'm happy for him. He has 4 kids. I think he was looking at the situation out here, and he kind of thought, all right, well, there's not a ton of work right now. This is, shortly after Blizzard had fallen apart, and just thought, okay, I've got a big stream. Maybe it'd be easier to raise a family over in Canada, which it is, much easier for him. His wife's Canadian, so they live next to his wife's family. Um, for me, I have, I miss Dan. It's too bad he's gone, but like, I still see him all the time. We still talk all the time, and yeah, I mean, I'm still getting plenty of work out here. Now we've got this little studio, so the partnership has changed, but fundamentally, like the friendship's still there, and where there's still a ton of work we do together, right? Like I just
Mhm.
casted the Esports World Cup in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia with him. And we even took a little trip to Qatar just for fun, like before that. So I got to travel with him. And then I see him, almost every week we talk on Discord or something. So the connection's still there, but yeah, we're in some ways also doing our own things. He's focused purely on his stream and his YouTube content, and then I'm working on the studio and doing the same thing, my YouTube content and my Twitch stream.
Nice. You mentioned a couple of times this horror game marathon. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? What is that going on? And I feel like I've seen you play some horror games on your channel quite a bit. What exactly is it? Because I know, okay, you have RTS as like real-time strategy, FPS as like first-player shooter, right? You have some of these sports games, you have fighting games. What is the horror game genre? Is it just kind of a one-player? There's no esport there, right? It's just something that you can enjoy on your own? Or tell us more about what this is exactly that you're doing.
I had to go off camera for a second to get another bottle of water here.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this is like not related to esports at all. So there's just, scary games are so fucking scary now. If you have headphones on and like you turn off the lights, it's pretty. They can be pretty terrifying.
Yeah, because the music and the sound, the audio, if you're immersed in headphones, then that would make it, because everyone says, if you're ever scared in a horror movie, then just cover your ears, right?
Right. I mean, and with some of these games, and you're basically designing a very sophisticated haunted house, right? So this has nothing to do with RTS games or Starcraft or esports, but I just enjoy playing scary games. I like scary movies. My wife and I, we love gore films and scary films and stuff like that. And I just thought, okay, so why don't I just, for the month of October, just only play scary games? I don't know if it's going to perform well on my channel. This is one of the funny things when you have a job like mine is a lot of people just want to watch me cast StarCraft, and if it's not that, I need to play StarCraft. But I just thought it'd be something different to try out, and it's also a good way for me to kind of test my channel for that month. Okay, what if I don't have any StarCraft content? I expected a small dip in viewership, but like by how much? Or will I get a new audience for this thing? So it's basically just a little experiment I'm running and something fun because I don't have a whole lot going on in the month of October, so I thought this would be a fun thing to do.
How hard is it to learn a new game for you? Because, like StarCraft, as an example, it's a very complex game, right? So
Sure.
if you're going from, let's say, StarCraft to a different RTS game, let's for argument's sake, if you want to suddenly pick up League of Legends, like how difficult is it to make that transition from StarCraft to League of Legends? And then at the same time, like you mentioned, going from StarCraft or other things to these horror games, is it, because like it's not an esport, right? If you're watching other people play it, you have an example of, oh, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do, as opposed to, you're given a game, or you're going to check this out for the first time. It's like, what am I doing? What am I supposed to do? It's got to be somewhat nerve-wracking going back to the beginner stage of something.
First, I feel like I can learn games pretty fast. I feel like if you can get good at one, so like, let's say it's another RTS game, that won't be hard.
Yeah.
That's going to come naturally. And I could probably self-teach, but there's also a lot of great guides on the internet. Like League of Legends, that's an isometric game. There's a lot of different concepts, but it's still
what's isometric?
Like a bird's eye view, like you're looking down at the board.
Yeah.
So you're playing. So there's a lot of mechanical similarities in how you play that, although there are some differences. If I were to go to a game like Counter-Strike, which I enjoy, but I don't think I'm particularly good at, I can learn that, but I would have to basically apply myself much more.
I can't play Counter-Strike at all. Any of the FPS games
is going to make you sick.
Yeah, I get like what do you call that?
Motion sickness.
Like motion sickness.
Yeah,
I'll be
that's
watching,
really common.
especially when I'm turning left or right. And all of a sudden, I'll feel like I want to throw up. So like I've just kind of given up on shooter games.
Yeah, that's very common. There's a lot of people that they can't play it. It makes them sick.
Yeah.
But they're not going to have that experience like with StarCraft or like a platformer game.
Yes. Yeah.
If anybody wants to get good at a game, there's tons of guides. There's free or paid for, or you can get coaching. So I feel like I pick up games pretty quickly now. And I also have access to a lot of great players. So I was curious about this new fighting game. It's called 2XKO that Riot's going to be releasing. One of my friends is like a world-class fighting game player. So I was just at his house 2 nights ago, and I'm like, okay, just teach me. Just what combos do I want to do? Watch me play, give me feedback. So I'm very fortunate in that sense that I've got access to people like that.
Yeah.
With the scary games, I mean, those, if you try, you'll beat them. They're not really there to be like some kind of an ultimate challenge or some. It's more of a narrative driven fun experience.
Hmm.
So, generally the challenge if you're playing a scary game is like the fear factor. Okay, I'm gonna get startled, or I'm gonna get scared, but um, that's why you watch a scary movie or go to a haunted house, just to kind of get the
Hmm.
thrill of doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to like games on a professional competitive level, I think if you've been good at one game, it's easier. Maybe it's like when you learn a second language, usually the third language is a little bit easier, and then the fourth language is much easier. I
Sure.
think that's true for competitive games. And I
Hmm.
also see a lot of crossover. People that are very good at chess pick up StarCraft quickly. People who are very good at StarCraft pick up chess quickly.
Sure.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. I remember when I was young, I used to love going to the arcades to play like Miss Pac-Man. Back in those days, it was like
Yeah.
Dragon's Lair, Track and Field, all sorts of different video games at the arcade. And my parents, I've been caught there a few times where they're looking for me, and then they come to the arcade, they find
Yeah.
me there, they
This has
grab me by
happened to
the
me too. Yeah.
ear and drag me out. So, I mean, the parents' role in sort of trying to distance their kids from video games to a certain degree. I went through that era, and then now I see people making careers out of video games and stuff as well. There can be addictive natures to some video games, but let's say you're older and wiser now, and obviously as a kid we all enjoy playing video games, but as an adult now, when it comes to the moral responsibilities and maybe kids playing games too much, Korea had different curfews for kids being able to be at the PC cafes and stuff like that. But where do you stand? Is it any different now that you're older and wiser and been here a while, like, or do you still see video games the same way as you did in your teenage years?
Well, I think it's funny because when I would be playing StarCraft all day, I would have family members say, "Well, you can't do that for a living." And now with Twitch, it's like, "Oh, I fucking literally do this and can do this for a living." And not even like just talking about the game, just literally playing it. Um, I understand a parent's fear with like, okay, I don't want my kid to waste all of his time or his or her life doing this. I think it's about striking a balance. I mean, the reality is, if you're good at anything, you know, first of all, like, okay, people can make money being pro gamers. I've had a lot of people ask me, well, don't you feel like they should be going outside, or don't you feel like they should be? And I go, I don't know, man. They can, some of these guys have traveled all over the world. They made hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. A lot of them have learned multiple languages or more than one language because they're residing. Excuse me. They're residing in another country for when they're training, and they're picking up that culture. They're having all these experiences that most people don't have. So there's a totally fruitful, incredible world. I think out there for these players. I think it's really good for the mind to learn a game. Like, I don't think any parents would say you shouldn't. I think my kid's playing too much chess, right? You'd be going, no, this is amazing, because we all know what chess does for the mind, right?
Yes.
There is, at the same time, a degenerate world of just playing games all day mindlessly. Like, not all games are made the same.
Yes.
Some games are slot machines. Other games are chess.
Yeah.
And I think for some people, they don't see the difference in that. Some adults, and so yeah, I mean, if your kid was at the slot machine all day, yeah, you should probably be worried.
Yeah.
But
But there are a
I'm
lot of games that, if you were to be good at this particular game, there might be some companies that want to hire you
yes,
because you've played a certain game at a very high level. As you mentioned, if you were a grandmaster in chess, you're probably more likely to get hired for certain jobs than someone who's never played chess in their life.
no, totally. I guess the point I was trying to make is it's not like these people don't learn any other skills.
Yeah.
Like, as an example, I was a professional player. Now I'm, I guess you call, like, an orator. I'm a broadcaster, right? I speak for a living. I wasn't a very articulate kid when I was younger. So I think all these things can kind of lead to something else. In general, I feel like, and I know most parents, they just want what's best for their kid. And a lot of
Mhm.
people could try to do what I'm doing, or what other, let's take players in the professional realm, what they're doing, and they don't succeed. But I think it's always worth trying it, worth following your dreams. Um, Yeah. So, I mean, I have nothing but good things to say. I work in an industry and I'm in a world where, you know, I get to meet all these other great people that make YouTube content or big streamers or professional players. So it's kind of a cool world to be part of. If a parent was concerned about it, I mean, they should just research what game their kid is playing. Does this game have some kind of value? There are games that are basically like slot machines and they're mindless.
Yeah.
But games can be a way to compete. They can be a way to consume a story, right? Like some of the best stories I've experienced during games. They can be a casual thing that you do with your friends to connect. So there's a lot of different types of games out there, and it kind of depends on what you're trying to get out of it. And as somebody who works in this space, by the way, I also advocate like exercising and going outside. You know what I mean? There's nothing about this that is antisocial or yeah.
Going
So,
sitting in front of a computer for 8 hours a day.
yeah, well, if you're gonna do that, then go get some sunlight and
Yeah.
go see your friends as well. But yeah.
What's it like living in Korea? Because you grew up in the U.S. and you've now lived here for around 20 years or so.
17 years, I think.
17 years, yeah.
Yeah.
So what's first off, what was the transition like in terms of culture shock to be in a place like Korea? And then I guess it was necessary then because back then, Korea was like one of, if not the only place that was broadcasting esports on mainstream TV.
So, my dad's a journalist who's lived all over the world. So when I was younger, I would occasionally go visit him, and my parents were divorced, so I would go visit him like once a year, like for Christmas or something like that. So I was used to traveling on some level. So I think that probably helped. I found it very easy to just get up and move to Korea because I had been watching Starcraft my entire like since middle school up through college. So I was aware of the country. I had picked up a couple of overseas gigs doing broadcasts before I moved to Korea, and I think two of them were in Korea. So I had been to Korea twice already. So when I moved, there were obviously some challenges, specifically that I didn't know how to read Korean. I couldn't speak any Korean, and I wasn't acculturated, which is a lot to take on. But I found that also really rewarding. It's funny because a lot of people would ask me like, "Don't you miss home?" Or, I'm like, "No, I can get on a plane anytime and go home." By the way, with the way everything's set up now with smartphones and the internet, like this morning I was texting my buddy in San Francisco. I text him every morning. We say hi. We have a quick chat. It's nighttime for him. I don't feel like I'm disconnected from my home country or my friends back at home. And a lot of times Koreans will ask me like, "Don't you miss the food?" It's like, I'm in Seoul. There's a ton of Western food everywhere. And also like I can eat Korean food in Kansas where I'm from. Like everything's everywhere now,
Globalization.
Yeah, it's everything's so globalized now that I don't feel like it is a huge sacrifice. Seoul is an amazing city. It's very safe. It's got great public transit. It's Korean culture is very hip. They're very ahead of the curve. So, it's been a lot of fun, honestly. And then on top of that, I mean, at this point in time, I've probably been to over 40 countries.
Wow.
Yeah, and a lot of them like several times, over. Like I was just in Riyadh. That's my third time there. And I do a decent amount of traveling, on my own time as well. So, it's been great. Korea has definitely, I should say, Seoul as a city has definitely continuously leveled up. It's gotten nicer and nicer. When I first moved here, I did find that there was not a lot of foreigners. Now I feel like there's way more foreigners here. The food's improved because there are more foreigners coming here and they're bringing their cuisines to the country. And I think Korea has kind of globalized a lot more.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
And so it's definitely been great. I will say I've been lucky in that I've managed to avoid working in a Korean company, like a company guy. There were a couple moments I had to make a choice. Am I going to work at a company or not? Or am I going to kind of be freelance and do my own thing? And luckily I haven't had to do that. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is that I have seen that because every place has pros and cons, right? But a lot of people complain about the office culture out here.
Yes.
About it's like you work long hours. It's a lot of times when you finish work, which is already late, then you have to go eat and drink with your boss.
Your boss.
And so, Korea is very hierarchical. So it can be hard to move up the ranks or hard to get your idea heard if you're not, high up in the company. So
Hmm.
I've managed to avoid that, but I have definitely experienced it. I've
Yeah.
seen it. And just because I don't work in an office doesn't mean I don't work with Korean companies and I experience some of the challenges of that.
Hmm.
But, because, I've got this little studio space that I built, but then other than that, I stream out of here, or if I have a studio I got to go to, I just take the train to that. I go in, do the broadcast, I'm out. So yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm trying to get at is Seoul's a great place to live. I'm really happy here. It's one of the best cities in the world, in my opinion.
When
Yeah.
you moved out here, you basically moved out here because of esports, and Korea
Right.
was the hotbed of esports at the time. If somebody wanted to work in esports today, the options of cities that they could live in and still make a good footprint and impact in the industry would include what cities now? Like beyond just Seoul, there must be tons of
Oh, good
places now.
question. So Seoul is definitely still the best place. It's
Okay.
still the best. Um, Interestingly, I guess I would say maybe Riyadh with what the Saudis are doing because they've bought up most of the esports tournament organizers.
Okay.
So the
So
Saudis, I think they
do,
own
do you know if
something
do you know if there's any casters or people that
that
strictly
that's
live
what I
there
was going to
now?
say is I don't know. I'm not sure, but I would imagine that must be a thing.
Yeah,
Obviously there's pitfalls, with that too. It's very
sure.
hot and there's no alcohol. Um, but that also may be changing. Not the
Hmm.
heat, but the alcohol. That might change down the road. I think there might be eventually legalizing that. But there's been a
May,
couple places. The thing is, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm
I
interrupting you.
was just gonna say, I remember Germany having some bit of
Cologne,
a, yeah.
Cologne, and Berlin.
Is that still a
Um,
thing?
it is and it isn't. I think what's happened is that there's less. A lot of okay. So let me go back a second, and then I think I can
Sure.
explain this pretty well. So most of the broadcasts I do are like what you'd call like a seasonal show,
Okay.
right? So like GSL, that's let's say because the tournament's shrunk a little bit, but let's say that a season is 17 days
Hmm.
and it's 2 days a week. So what I do is 2 days a week. I know what I'm doing. I'm broadcasting that, right?
Hmm.
Now that means I need to be in Seoul pretty much the entire time.
Yeah.
Maybe I can leave for like 5 days and come back, but probably not, right?
Hmm.
That's not that common anymore, particularly unless you're like doing riot games. So there's maybe like 15 or 16 other esports casters in English full time out here.
Hmm.
The other guys do League of Legends or Valorant, and those are also seasonal programs that they do.
Okay.
So they do this thing for a couple months. Maybe they pick up other gigs on the side out here. Um, Most esports now are these kind of weekend, 3 day, 2 day, four
Tournament
day
events.
tournament events. And like, let's say, okay, there's going to be this tournament in Bangkok, or there's going to be, somewhere in Sao Paulo, there's going to be this tournament. Everybody flies in, they do an intense amount of work, and then they leave,
Hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
so, because of the existence of those tournaments, you can kind of be living anywhere, right?
Hmm.
As long as it's not too obscure. Like one challenge Artosis has is he lives in Prince Edward Island, which is like it's a tiny
Yeah.
island in Canada, and so it's like it's hard to get flights out of there all the time. So he has like
Yeah.
the headache of like he's got to get the right flight to Toronto, and then okay, now you're at an international airport. Now like he's going to meet me in Saudi Arabia. Now he's got to go Toronto to Dubai because there's no flight from Toronto to Riyadh, or maybe there is, but not on the day he was flying to meet me. So then he's got to go to Dubai. Now he's in Dubai. He's got to go to Riyadh, where like I can just go. There are direct flights to Riyadh from Seoul, but I can also just go to like Shanghai,
Hmm.
Riyadh, or Dubai, Riyadh. Anyways, it's easier. So I guess if you're near an airport that's pretty decent, that would probably be the best bet for most esports commentators. But my experience is if you're going to be doing the commentary, you need to be doing more than that now. I do find because you're not diversified enough.
Hmm.
Like, and that's coming from someone who's probably maybe in the one of the few people in the whole world has done this for a living the longest.
Yeah.
Just casting,
Hmm.
and that's coming from me. And I think I've I've made decent money doing this compared to other casters. So like I would still say even for me, I look at this and I go, well, obviously I need to stream on Twitch. Obviously I need to make YouTube content. So it's really about trying to figure all that out. It is a space that is, I think it's really challenging to make it in. I mean, and I kind of view myself in the same line as like some of these pros. Like it's hard for, you got to be really good to be winning the tournaments or be placing high. And then, how long can you do that? Maybe they patch the game, they change the way it is, and then your thing you're doing isn't strong anymore. So I always recommend to people that they try to diversify and they should try to build up their own channels because what I've learned with this is that I can put something on my channel and it's mine.
Yeah.
And let's say that I've been part of a lot of esports ventures that have failed where I'm not in charge of it, but I'm like the broadcaster.
Yes.
But I can see the direction it's going, and I go, this is not going to work. And I mean, it's not like I work full time with the company or I can make them listen to me, but I go, this is not like a big example of this would have been Overwatch League, which I didn't work on, but that was I think anybody who had any common sense saw that was not going to work at all. There was the buy-ins for the teams are too much. Overwatch was not like a tested esport, so it didn't really make sense. Like, why wouldn't you do this with like maybe a MOBA or or a tactical shooter? So there's been a lot of pretty bad, not with it business decisions. And so the marketplace decides which of those succeed and fail. But just having your own channels, I think, is really important because it kind of lets you at least work on your own stuff, your own projects. And I think this isn't even just like an esports thing. This is kind of like a multimedia thing.
Yeah.
If you see somebody, a lot of these like big news anchors now, they just leave their shows and go on YouTube.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. Yeah,
they do podcasts or they do their own small
sometimes
news
because they're canceled, but other times because they don't want to deal with the politics.
Right, exactly. Or they just know I can do my own thing. So that's been something I've kind of noticed in the space that I've thought is interesting. So I've got my 1 foot in each, right? Like I just did the Esports World Cup. That was an incredible experience. It's the best production there's ever been in esports, the biggest prize pools ever. But then I'm also doing, these more indie things like out of my studio, stuff out of my studio, or even like simpler things like in this PC right here. This is a streaming machine, right?
Yeah.
I can turn this on and I can do some kind of basic content and experiment with that and see what's fun for me and what my audience likes.
Having been a caster in this industry as long as you have, and I would imagine not just in the broadcast side of things, but you've got to have quite a bit of influence, not just with your audience, but in terms of gaming companies as well and events like this. How much are you approached by gaming presidents and programmers or communities of people asking your opinion? Because you might just be a guy, but I mean, this is also what you do for a living, and you get people, right? Like you get what people want in a game.
Yeah, I've had a lot of talks with big gaming CEOs or people that are making new games. I've been in commercials for games that haven't released yet, or one was sadly canceled. Battle Aces was canceled, but I was really looking forward to that game. So I've done consulting work, or I've tried to help other game publishers. It's funny when it comes to game publishers. Some are great to work with, some are really bad. Sometimes I'll see a game and I'll go, "This looks great," and then I'll kind of meet the people that are working on it. I'll go, I don't know if I want to work with these people. Some people are great, and they, some people really, I guess for lack of better words, get it. Other people don't. I think one of the things that I hadn't really thought about when I was a caster was you're representing some company's game on some level.
Yeah.
Right? And so, like, I remember kind of almost being freaked out when, so StarCraft 2 comes out, I'm casting it a bunch, and then I start to meet, like, dozens of Blizzard people, and they've all seen the cast. Some of them love it. Some I can't tell. You know what I'm saying? And I go, okay, yeah, I guess this is a game made by hundreds or thousands of people, and now their product's out there, and I'm talking over it or making jokes, or maybe I'm saying this strategy seems maybe impossible to stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's definitely something. Blizzard, by the way, was always great to work with in that regard. Like I got to meet Mike Morheim. I just had dinner with him and his wife when I was in LA recently. He's the guy that made the original Blizzard, so he made StarCraft and Diablo and the classics. So they were great. I won't name publishers that weren't great to work with, but I've worked with some where I go, oh, they don't, you know, either they think they're like supposed to be my boss and tell me how to cast, or they I don't know, they don't seem to be interested in my growth,
Yeah.
or anything like that. And so I go, okay, well then this is not worth it for me. So that's another thing. One of the interesting notes on that is that, so when you do esports casting, and there's like all different levels of this, right? I mean, there's like what I do at like Esports World Cup, but then there's people that just do commentary from a setup like this from home. You can do that kind of casting. You don't have to deal with a publisher for that. But the higher up you go, or the more the company's paying for it, then you are dealing, with people. Dealing with people isn't bad either, by the way. But you do realize, okay, we're working with a bigger group of people that have a certain vision, or think things need to be a certain way. But look, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can make. I think a lot of people don't know this, but there was a big debate on whether or not Twitch was going to be allowed to have all these different game IPs with people making money off of it. There's like a big, companies like Nintendo weren't necessarily cool with that.
Yeah.
Why is this maybe this guy that is, let's say there's some Super Mario 64 speedrunner who's smoking weed on his stream, while the game's there. Does Nintendo want that? Do they not? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So it turns out the way the pieces fell is that there were enough game publishers that thought, no, this is free advertising. Let's let creators stream our games and make content around them. There were other companies and maybe bad actors that, at least from my perspective, who thought, no, we need to shut this down, or we need to control this, or they owe us money. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. But in this world now, you can absolutely make content and stream and be doing your own thing. But yeah. I'm rambling a little bit here, but to go big picture, you also end up with the higher up you go, the more then you're dealing with publishers or tournament organizers and stuff like that.
Yeah, certainly all crazy stuff. I'm sure if you think back 17 years ago when you got started, that you would end up having to deal with this kind of stuff, or see how far the industry has come since then. Any final things that you want to promote, where people can see you, or anything that you want to say to the people out there that don't know you or your stuff?
Oh, no, I mean, check out my stream. It's twitch.tv/Tasteless TV. On the panel below the stream is links to the Patreon or my YouTube and all that stuff. But check out our new tournament that we're running. It's called RSL. It's a big StarCraft 2 tournament out here in Korea. It's been really fun to produce. And you can also watch my StarCraft 1 casting. That's ASL. Just type in ASL and then maybe Tastosis on YouTube, and you can find that there. And thank you, Jason, for doing this interview. I really appreciate it.
That was a lot of fun. And once again, I'll have all of your information. I'll get that copied and pasted from you into the descriptions below. So just pop into the descriptions below here, and I'll lead you to all of Nick's contents. Once again, thank you so much for giving me some of your time. I know just how busy you are and how hectic things are getting for you. So certainly very much appreciated. And I can't wait to see esports in the Olympics someday. I think that's going to be the craziest thing. And I'll remember that, that came from this conversation here. I'll remember this as being the first time we talked about something like that.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for the interview.
All right. Nick Plott, better known as Tasteless, big face of esports. See where the industry is growing. It's come so far already, and certainly is going even further in the future. Who knows? Maybe even in the Olympics in 2028, maybe 2032. We'll have to wait and see. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please do give us a thumbs up, like it, subscribe to the channel, and you'll be up to date the next time we upload some more content. Thanks for watching.